Welcome back to the Growth Unleashed podcast, where we help businesses unleash growth with AI-powered systems. Speaking to a variety of different leaders, CEOs, founders in the health and wellness space. Today, we are excited to have Austin Cohen, the founder and CEO of Corrective Chiropractic clinics, which are based in Atlanta, Georgia, but there are a variety of locations all over the place. Austin also is the creator of a system called Kyro 180 that he uses with his best practices he's garnished over the years in the chiropractic world. Basically, Kyro 180 helps chiropractors scale their businesses to get to where Austin is today. With that, welcome to the podcast, Austin.
Hey, thanks, Glenn. Good to see you, man.
Absolutely. Love having you.
Yeah,
Excited for
great.
the conversation. Well, let's start with this, Austin. So tell me a little bit about your
For sure.
journey and your story that got you to ultimately found Corrective Chiropractic. Let's hear the history.
Yeah, a bit of history is I essentially wanted to be a dentist. That was what I really wanted to do in my early days. And I ended up applying to go to dental school, but I was applying out of state. The girl I was dating at the time was in Virginia. They take 5 students out of 200, and my days of social fraternity days did not allot me to be in that top 5 out of those 200. So ended up not getting in to dental school, which to me may have been one of the best things. If I look at all the failures of my life that turned into lessons and opportunities for me, probably the best one I think to have happened. I ended up moving back home to South Carolina, and my mom wanted me to go see a chiropractor. I went to this chiropractic clinic, and it was one of the best things I've ever seen. I walk into this guy's office. There's no glass barrier between the patients and the providers. Everyone's high-fiving. There's all these athletes in there. There's kids getting adjusted. I remember there was a team called the South Carolina Stingrays hockey team, and a bunch of their athletes are in there all taking care of themselves. They didn't have any pain. They're literally in there for preventive and performance care. And the next day in April of 2005, after that happened, I applied to go to chiropractic school, and I started in the fall because I already had all my prerequisites because I was a pre-med major and pre-dental. And I went through chiropractic school. Through chiropractic school, I started really challenging myself, and I got very fortunate that early on I started hanging out with the right people. A lesson I learned during chiropractic school is the people we surround ourselves with led me to doing some endurance races. Ultimately, in 2009, I graduated from chiropractic school, and then in October 2009, opened up my first location. Here we are, 16 years later. I've got 14 locations spread out in the Southeast, a software company that focuses on patient retention and patient management for chiropractors. I do 2 events for chiropractors every year. One's called Growth Summit, the sold-out event every year for 75 chiropractors. And then I do an event called Adventure Summit for 16 chiropractors that can be anywhere. This year it's actually in the Grand Canyon. We're doing R3, rim to rim to rim. And got a great family, man. So that is what has gotten me now to where we are. That is
That's
the overall
amazing. I
summary.
love it. That's news to me about the dental background. I had no idea that was your original dream, but that's awesome. So yeah, it sounds like you're just passion, obviously, for helping people get better is obviously a big part of who you are. I like that you took the linear approach in building a single business, but you're using that to expand a little horizontally with the Adventure Summit and the growth.
Venture Summit, Growth Summit. Here's what I'll
Yeah.
share. That's me now. For those that are new in business right now, what I always tell people is like, you never can compare your chapter 1 to somebody's chapter 30. I've been doing this for a long time now. And so for those that are new in business, they could look at what I'm doing and think, oh, that's what I need to create now and get this done tomorrow. No, I went through a lot of failures. Over my 16 years, there's been a lot of shiny objects, a lot of distractions. And my brain, the way it's wired is when I see something that can be exciting, I pour into that. And unfortunately, what it can do is pull me away from the main thing. And that's never a good sign. There was a time where I opened up a yoga studio that had bulletproof coffee inside of it. So you would take your yoga class, and then you would order your bulletproof coffee that'd be ready for you after the yoga class. And then there was stretching in there as well. There was a time we opened up a personal injury clinic in South Atlanta. We partnered up with Whoop. We were the first chiropractor to ever partner with Whoop. In theory, sounds cool. Huge distraction for where we're trying to go as a company. All of those distractions, unfortunately, obviously led to where we are now, but right now is the most alignment I've ever had. Our software was not built for financial reasons. I didn't build ChiroNady to make money. I built ChiroNady because Corrective Chiropractic needed a software for scalable systems so we could start eliminating other softwares. Eventually, it took off. I built Growth Summit because I saw what was going on in this profession, and I was fortunate to do well, and I needed to teach other chiropractors how to do the same thing and build really good businesses because a lot of them fail. And people see what I'm doing and think this is easy. This is like the 0.1% of everything. Most chiropractors fail. They default on loans. I wanted to build a summit for them. And I did it not for financial reasons, but now it's a sold out event every year. Like Adventure Summit. I love doing hard challenges. I've done a 100-mile run. I've swam Alcatraz. I've done Navy SEAL training, Ironman. And I do something like that every year. But then I was like, you know what? Let me just bring some chiropractors along with me to have some fun. It's turned into a great event that's sold out too. So when I do things that are in alignment with my core values and core beliefs, they do well. If I get distracted with shiny objects, I fail.
That's
Suffers
perfect.
too as well. So yes,
I mean,
now it's good, but it wasn't
that
always
makes
like
perfect
that.
sense. Expand a little bit on some of the failures that you experienced. You mentioned the yoga studio, the personal injury, and all that. But how about in your current business, the chiropractic business specifically? What kind of failures did you experience, and how did you overcome those along the way? I'm sure you must have had many of those as well.
Yeah, I mean there's definitely a lot of lessons like we've learned throughout our experience for sure. One thing we've done well is adaptability and overcoming adversity. That's something we've always done well as a company. Some of that was innately given to me when I was young. When I didn't get into dental school, I didn't sit back and cry. I started thinking about, all right, what can I do better? How can I get in next time? What do I need to start doing now? So I've always been pretty good about pivoting when things don't go my way and realizing that there's always going to be something good on the other side. I'm very grateful to be in the situation. I just need to start pouring into it. One of the things we learned was when I started scaling and opening up more locations, one of the things we decided to do was go out of state. One of the mistakes we made was there was a time we were in like Philadelphia, we were in Colorado, and in theory, it sounded good, shiny object syndrome. I had people who I was friends with, and they wanted to open up locations, all these different states. And I was like, all right, that's a great idea. What ended up happening, though, was those clinics, it was hard for me to pour into them because it was so far away. All of our locations right now are within 4 hours of Atlanta, Georgia, because I can easily get there. It's very accessible. I can train, hire, do whatever I need to do very easily. Something we've learned along the way is we've got to be within a region and do really well there first before we start expanding. We lost a lot of money in some of those locations when we started, like our Philadelphia location. I mean, that thing got shut down.
What made it so hard? I mean, what was it?
So that was just,
Was it more about the state of the area itself, the economics of the area? Was it a marketing branding challenge? Here.
all right. It's never the area for
Uh-huh.
sure. And it's always the person, okay? But it's also me as a leader to mentor them. If somebody's working in my company, they've entrusted me to support their growth. Otherwise, why would they work here? And that's something I take pretty seriously. So I wasn't able to be up there. It's hard for me to get to Philadelphia. I have to fly there regularly, and we have so much going on down here. If I look at extreme ownership, I just wasn't able to pour into them, but that person just needed a lot of work that I wasn't able to give. And so it ended up not doing what it did, which is fine. It's all good. We learned a lot in that process. So that would be one of the things probably I'd say that was a good takeaway for us as a company. I'll share another one from some other failures. Some of the things we look at is we're big on patient retention. I'm a big believer everybody should be getting adjusted for the rest of their life. Just like I believe everyone should be getting exercise for the rest of their life. If there's a massage therapist, somebody should be doing massage for the rest of their life once a month at least. I like a big believer in lifetime for everything, all these things, okay? I'm not somebody who is where you have a lot of providers. Like I was at a physical therapist recently who was saying, he's like, well, you may need to come back and do this. And I said, I work out 5 days a week. You don't think I could benefit from physical therapy twice a month? He's like, well, I mean, you could. I just don't want to be pushy. Like, all right, that's for me to decide.
Sure.
Your job is to tell me what you think I need based on my body. I think for us as a company, that has been something where we've really focused a lot of our time and attention on building out our retention and being really good and crystal clear about communication. Where a lot of our systems and technology came from was the failure of people. For example, like somebody, like you may say to us, hey guys, when's my next re-exam? When am I going to start getting exercises? What pillows should I sleep on? What mattress should I sleep on? How much longer am I coming in at this frequency? If somebody's asking us those questions, those are failures on our part that we didn't do a good job of communicating the journey that they're on right now. A lot of businesses don't create clarity for their clients on the direction on where they're going. As a client, I want to know, where am I going? What am I working on? If I'm coming to you, like, am I working on fat loss? Am I working on body fat percent? Am I working on strength? Am I working on increasing the electrodes as time goes on? Like, what is my plan? Like, what am I working on? And so that's something that I would say for us, we've gotten really good at is over time. We're not 100%, we're still working on it, but being really good at the system of the client journey, that's something that we definitely
Yeah, so tell me a
failed
little
on
more about that. I know that's
for
something you guys do very differently than most chiropractics, at least in my experience, focusing on that client journey and having an entire roadmap laid out for each client, I think, for what I've seen in the industry, are known to be just adjustments. People go to them for an adjustment and that's what they do. But I know you guys put a lot more serious emphasis on that whole journey that doesn't just include the adjustments. So tell me more about that client journey. What makes you guys different?
Yeah, I'd say for us, one of them for sure is belief systems. We have strong belief systems in our company, and we're only going to recommend to our patients what we believe to be true. For example, we'll get people come to us from other chiropractors, and I'll be like, oh, how often were you going? They'll be like, once every 6 months. And they tell me, and I say, just so you know, that chiropractor gets adjusted twice a month for maintenance, yet they recommend it once every 6 months. To me, that's very unethical. And so, once again, it ties back to the feelings people have. But I think for us, what we do a really good job of is recommending what we believe somebody needs based on objective data. Everything I do in my life is very objectively based. As you know, like I wear my Whoop regularly. I get x-rays of my spine every couple of years. I do different body fat percentages. I'm actually going to get an MRI today at 3 o'clock to check out some stuff. I do blood work every year. I do stool samples every year, urine analysis. So everything is objectively based, which if I'm a business and any service provider business, any healthcare business, I want to have objective data I can use in order to show change and growth. So because people are looking for that, like you guys do the scans. Some gyms do benchmark workouts, which I think is a great idea. So everyone has like these things where they can show data for people getting better, and we do a really good job of that. And then what we do is every business should have programs and processes. So for example, somebody comes to us in their acute care. They get input what's called our initial intensive care, which is their first 4 to 6 weeks. Then they graduate to spinal stability phase. And at spinal stability phase, they're getting a lacrosse ball, they're getting a heel lift, a TheraBand, and their frequency may change too as well at that point. They're going to also start doing the vibrating platforms, and then they're eventually going to graduate to spinal molding phase, where now we're going to work on the molding of the spine. They'll get a spinal molding kit, and then they'll graduate into wellness phase. So what we've done is we've built out these phases in our program that people will follow along the journey. Every client of every business is looking for one thing, and they're looking for clarity. If we can provide that clarity to the client or the patient of where they were, where they are, and where they're going, we could have a patient for life. But that's like any business. Most people say when they leave a business, they're like, oh, it's too expensive. We all know that's usually not true, right? The perceived value of what they're getting has gone down below what they're paying. So how do we keep building that? We keep building that by constantly just having programs and process. So I know a lot of gyms will do a 6-week shred program. Or you go to a gym and it's like phase 1, we're going to do the rebuild phase, then you're going to go into the repair phase, and then you're going to the strength phase. But if you build out this lifetime client journey, I think that's where businesses and healthcare businesses and service providers, anybody in service-based industry or any business really could win the game. Long answer for how we do our process.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
A lot of nuggets in there.
And to me, it's the clarity, but the other thing I think you guys do well, and full transparency to the listeners here, I'm a client of Corrective Chiropractic and have been for over 6 months. One thing that I think you do exceptionally well is tie things to results. It's the clarity of the process, but it's also the focus on the results. Right from the very beginning, from my very first session, this isn't meant to be a commercial for you guys, but it's definitely a testament in my eyes. Really, everything along the way has been focused on the results. Not about the weekly transaction of come in, get an adjustment, but knowing where I am in that process and having my eye on the results the whole way. So with that said, I do think you guys do things different. I really believe so from what I've seen. How do you get that out to the market? I mean, aside from just putting fancy ads and logos and colors, how have you marketed yourself as it? What's that? Yeah.
It wasn't always like that.
Right.
It wasn't always like that. Once again, like
so let's hear that.
chapter
Yeah,
30.
Let's hear that. Yeah.
Let me tell you about chapter 1. Yeah. So when I first started, so one thing about me that, for those that know me pretty well, I'll outwork anybody. Anytime, any place, anywhere. No one's going to outwork me. When I first started, it was in 2009. You remember 2009. It was a very scary time. A lot of people didn't have jobs. Their 401k was tanking. A lot of those people bought a house in 07, 08 for $500,000. Now it's worth $300,000. So they're underwater. So to build a business in 09 is a very difficult time of life. You have to sell. I got to sell chiropractic as a necessity, not a luxury. That was my mindset going into it. What I did was, when I started, I would have these pieces of paper like this, and on it would be like Monday through Friday. And then from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., I would go to a gym and set up a table. I would do screenings or health or recovery tables. Then from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., I would go to GNC. From 12 to 1, I would have lunch with somebody. There's a book I read called Never Eat Alone, and Keith Ferrazzi wrote it. It's a really good book. Anyways, so I never ate meals alone in business because business is all about relationships. It's a numbers game. How many people do you know? From 1 to 3, I went to Vitamin Shop. And then from 3 to 8, I went back to another gym. And then from 8 to 11, I went to a networking event. That was my cycle. And I did that every single day. If I didn't do that, I met 1,000 people in Buckhead. I started where I was going to open up my location, and I would walk from my location. I walked all the way down to Peachtree and Piedmont. And every single business I walked into, I asked 2 questions. And I didn't have a clipboard or anything. I walk in, I say, hey, let's say you guys were open now, like the Office Depot where you guys were, well, not there now, but I walked in there, I met everybody. But I'd walk in, I'd say, hey, Glenn, well, I didn't know your name. I'd say, hey, I'm Austin Cohen. I'm a chiropractor. I'm thinking about opening up in this community. Do you guys think there's a health conscious community? And they all say yes. Are there any providers that you would recommend, like they practice what they preach? Like there's somebody you can trust when it comes to longevity, healthcare, health optimization. Who would you trust in this community? They'll go, I don't really know anybody. I go, well, listen, I'm thinking about opening this community actually right down the street. And by the way, I knew I was opening up. I was building up my space. I'm going to be doing an open house in about 90 days. I'd love to invite you if you'd be open to come. And they'd all say, oh yeah, of course. I'd be like, can I get your name and email? And I built out this massive database. Now, I didn't get a lot of people directly from day one, but it did start to trickle in over the year. We still get people from those walkthrough days. The last thing I did was every weekend I was doing events. So on Saturdays and Sundays, I would go to Piedmont Park for the farmers market. I would go to art festivals, bridal events. I went everywhere. If there was a convention center, there was an event, I was there at my booth from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays. The first event I did while I was open was Pride Festival in Atlanta of October 2009. We signed up 26 prepaid appointments. That's how now it's all built on community relationships. We're a 90+% referral-based practice. We have good relationships in the community. We've been around for so long now and have built a good reputation. That's where we're at now. But I don't like when people share. I hear chiropractors all the time share, what do you do to get referrals? Like, oh, we're a referral-based business now. I'm like, okay, people don't want to hear about the now. They want to go back and
a lot of friction that got you there in the first place. The grassroots community marketing, relationship building, that's critical. So what about right now? You guys have a pretty well-oiled machine. I mean, from looking the outside in, but certainly there's got to be little hiccups and glitches. You got 14 practices, I think you said, around the States, 90% referral. I think any business out there would envy 90% referral rates. I mean, the cheapest and most effective type of marketing there is. But what are some of the challenges you face today as far as growth, retention, anything customer related when it comes to keeping the business stable and growing?
Yeah. I think what I did a poor job on over the last 7 years or 6 years was not building out. I'm a visionary and I'm very action oriented. So it's like I'm sitting here with Amberly who works with us over the weekend. They roll in and they're like, wait, Austin just built this app over the weekend that now is our software for our ChiroNady clients, Grow Summit clients. So very action-oriented. However, my fault is not building good operations manual and processes. I wish back in 2017, we started building our training manual, how we do things. We never did that. So the expectation when people come in is they're expecting this training program or they're expecting to be, we don't have, I mean, we have it now to some degree, but it's like ad hoc. Like things are just like all over the place for that now. Not all locations are at 90%. Because we started expanding into other markets before we maxed out some of the current markets. And so what that does is it starts to really affect the whole company. What we should have done is when we hit our floor in certain clinics, then we are allowed to expand into another market. Rather than, oh, shiny object, let's go into this market, let's go into this market, let's go. But wait, these markets aren't doing well yet. These doctors just opened 6 months ago and they're feeling already burnt out. Like we need to focus on them. But there's this really good opportunity over here. I would say now in like August 2025, this is probably the healthiest we've ever been as a company. It comes down to a lot of self-reflection, a lot of awareness, a lot of maturity. My recommendation for any business would be to have your processes built out before you go to location 2. Even if you're not thinking about multiple locations, you still want to have really good processes built out because that's built to sell. Now you've got a sellable, scalable business that's not probably 100% dependent on you. That would be my number one recommendation. And for us right now, always the hardest thing for us is people. It's like any business. Chiropractors to find a chiropractor, it's not easy. I got to find somebody who wants to live in a certain city, but then they also have to be certified and licensed in that city. Then I got to train them and make sure they also have good hands and technique. Like they're not,
Yeah.
it's not like a
Yeah.
cryotherapy place where they punch two buttons. Board certified, continuing education, malpractice insurance, and
And I would
good
think
at
too,
community
you have a
and good at
very
technique.
strong culture there. And you mentioned earlier
Part.
being a values driven individual and therefore rubbing off on the organization, a values driven organization. I would imagine that's a critical piece of what you're looking for in the hiring process too, right? All the credentials you mentioned is one thing, but somebody who ties into your culture and your values, I would think is a critical thing too, right?
Yeah, I can't train that. And so for me, that just ties into our core values. I don't want to be around scumbags. I don't want to be a liar, a cheater. We got a good thing going right now. Everybody in this company, we got good people in this company right now. Everyone's ethical. They do good things. They tell the truth. They treat their patients as if that patient was a family member of theirs. It's exactly how we want it to operate. We're in a good place, but what I would be cautious of is people that are newer
Yeah.
listening to this is it took a lot of time to get
I'm
to this point
sure.
though, man.
Let me ask you this. This
It
is
took a lot of time to
a
get.
kind of hypothetical, but at what point in your journey, you said 2009, is that what you said? So it's been 16 years, 9. So at what point do
Yeah,
you
that's when I opened in
think,
'09.
if we had this interview at a point in the past, at what point do you think that comment of yours would have started to apply? Meaning, at what point in that 16 years would you say, you know what, we finally are past like all the chaos, the difficulty, the stripes that you've gone through, where you can now say it wasn't always like this. When you finally felt like you were at a cusp where things were like, wow, this is actually now
Yeah,
cranking. It's actually doing well. I'm past a lot of the really hard.
this is only the past year. Yeah, this is like recent. But I would bet you
Hmm.
if you asked me in like 2017, I probably would have said that,
Yeah,
but not realizing what was going to show up a year, 2 years later. Because like I say that now, I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months. Fortunately, I'm much more mature enough to know how to handle situations better. I'm obviously better
yeah,
too, like now, like hiring and training and team building and leadership. I would say one of my biggest faults early on was and I don't want this to come off like arrogant or cocky at all, but I think for me, I was I never wanted to be the boss. I'm good at running a business. I'm really good at running a business. I'm extremely good at visionary. Like I've done things in this profession that nobody else has ever done, right? The things
hmm,
that we're doing right now, Grow Summit Adventures, I'm a ChiroNady. No one's doing this. But for me, I had to own that. And that's only recent in the last 2 to 3 years where I had this imposter syndrome that I didn't want to be that guy because I didn't want people to think of me
yeah,
any differently. But I realize that people do. And they look at me as a leader and they look at me as a visionary for this profession. And when I started owning with my social media, my podcast that I do, my newsletter I send out every Friday, everything started to change for the better
for
for me.
sure.
I didn't feel like I was living imposter syndrome anymore, which was really cool.
All right, let me ask you one quick question. Look at the future, because you're right. If you asked in 2017, you would have thought things were great. We don't know what the future looks like. If you had to brace yourself for the future, if you had a wave magic wand to help set the business at a pace that'll prepare for growth and continue growing, what do you think that would look like?
Yeah, you're going to love this answer because it involves AI. For us, I always look at our companies right now, it's 2025. I always want us to be ahead of what's coming. I always want our company to be ahead of where the profession is going. And so for us right now, we're working really heavily on. So here's a quick example. When I did my blood work recently, I uploaded all my data to ChatGPT and I was like, hey, I'm somebody like Gary Brecka, Peter Attia, those kind of guys are people I look up to, and I want to live to be over 100 years old. Based on this blood work you're seeing right here and some of these other metrics, but then what processes could I add into my lifestyle that would help with these numbers? And it gave me this whole program built out for me. For us, I think where we can go is clinically, we could probably improve our processes with AI, but also build a lot of confidence with our patients. Now, obviously, not breaking HIPAA violations. We've been doing some stuff recently with patients who have scoliosis or degenerative change. We already get good results, but how can we increase the confidence for our clientele with utilizing AI? So for us, that's a place we want to go down. The other thing with AI, though, comes a loss of human connection. People are going to be looking for that more than ever.
It's a very good
I
point.
think one thing we do a really good job in our company is making sure we maintain that. No matter how much AI we bring in, no matter how much technology we bring in, the one thing that can never be replaced, that will always be wanted in our future, will be human connection. If we can continue that with our community, with our people, and our patients, no matter what happens, we'll always win for sure.
Absolutely. Even if you improved every aspect of the business with AI, AI's not going to do adjustments. AI's not going to keep you bringing back for the actual service. You still need what you all do.
Yeah.
From a perspective.
I'm not one of those people that's scared it would take our jobs, and I know a lot of people are. But people I think that are scared that's going to take their job are people that already know they're probably not doing a good enough job in their job.
It's a great
Right?
point.
So the people I know who are graphic designers, architects, creatives, I have some good friends who are excited about AI because now they can make themselves look even better, simplify their processes, and scale faster.
For
And
sure.
those people's mindset are winners. Mindset is everything in every business I've ever been a part of. It's not about the tactics. I have friends that are really good adjusters and their businesses are garbage. They'd actually make more money going to work somewhere else as an employee than owning their own business. I have friends who I'd never let touch my body, but their mindset is strong. They know how to market themselves and they crush it. Worst adjusters ever, by the way. Like terrible.
You're right. The mindset trumps it all. Really.
Everything.
100%. I'm 100% with you on that. Listen, man, I appreciate it. This was great. Such good insights. Thanks so much for joining us today. Appreciate every bit of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks.